Welcome to Joyfully Unstoppable, the podcast for women who are ready to succeed without the stress. Whether you're leading a team, a classroom, a boardroom, or your own big, beautiful life, I am so glad you found us. I'm your host, Becky Hamm, leadership coach, speaker, and founder of Women Lead Well. Join me each week for straight talk, practical tips, and a dash of encouragement. Hello, my friends. I hope you are having a great day. Quick question for you. Do you receive my weekly newsletter? Wait, Becky, what? You have a newsletter? Why, yes, I do. It's called The Confidence Edit, and it comes out on Wednesdays. In it, I go into greater depth than what I can do in a 20-minute podcast. So I bring in some of the research, maybe expand a little bit on how to implement the sorts of things that we talk about in the podcast each week. And every once in a while, I will share something that's going on in my personal life. Subscribers receive early access to any new programs that are launching and sometimes get discounts too. If that sounds like something that would interest you, you can join at womenleadwell.net/newsletter. All right. Today, we are going to explore the age-old question, are you the linchpin or the bottleneck? Maybe you're both. And I don't know if that's an age-old question, but it's something that I see a lot in the beautiful, amazing women that I coach, is that they see themselves and their teams and their organizations see them as the linchpin. They're the ones that hold everything together. And at times, because of that, they also then become a bottleneck. So what is a linchpin? What am I talking about there? The linchpin is the person who holds it all together. Things would fall apart if it weren't for that individual. You, if you're the linchpin, you are the person that people come to for answers, even if the question is outside of your role. You're the person people come to untie a tangled up knot or a thorny little problem, because they know you'll get it done. It's easy to come to you because you have all the institutional knowledge, because you have been doing it, holding things together, because you take your job so seriously and you have invested yourself in your performance. And I want to say this. We see that as commendable. Being the linchpin is a badge, something we carry with a badge of pride, right? We see it as for a lot of us, as an aspiration. We want to be indispensable. We see it as a testament to our dedication, to our excellence. And so I want you to hear me, because I am saying this with love, but being the linchpin is actually super dysfunctional. If you really are the person holding everything together, that is not good for you. It's not good for your well-being. And my sweet friend, it is not good for your promotability. It is definitely not good for your organization. Why would I say that? Well, if you're truly indispensable, then you don't get to have a sick day. You don't get to actually unplug and take a vacation. And you are probably always available to put out fires and handle problems. And that ain't healthy. It's not good for you. And I recognize you might not care about your personal well-being. And so let's talk about your career. If everything depends on you, certain less than scrupulous bosses will think that you're too important in your current role to consider you for more senior roles or developmental opportunities. They just can't spare you. It's a career killer. And being the linchpin is terrible for your team and your organization. Why? Because if you're the one holding it all together, people turn to you to solve problems they should be able to solve themselves. They don't develop the problem solving, the decision making, the implementation skills they could develop if you didn't always show up to save the day. And while you are amazing and clearly have stellar judgment, it's actually a good thing for teams and organizations to incorporate a diversity of perspectives and approaches, especially in the rapidly changing environment that we face today. Obviously, you're brilliant. Obviously, your ideas are solid. But your team members hold brilliance too. And the reality is that you are simply more effective when you all have the chance to shine and when you intentionally bounce off of each other. But if you're the one everyone always goes to, if you were the default, then people aren't looping in the other brilliant members of your team or within the organization to get that renewal of ideas and new ways of thinking that we know, that science, that data, that studies tell us improve outcomes. So while I know that there is a sense of validation to be seen as the linchpin, it is really not good. And if others, your boss, your team members, colleagues, if they use that kind of language to describe you, you should see that as a red flag. Now, there's another red flag I want us to address today, and that is the bottleneck. The bottleneck is the person who's involved in every step of the workflow. And you know what I mean, right? Even minor decisions end up on your desk if you're a bottleneck. People check in with you before moving forward with execution, either because you've set the expectation that they have to, or because your team doesn't feel confident moving forward without your blessing. The bottleneck also comes when team members have to wait on you to turn around items for them, right? And so that might be feedback on a draft. It might be like approval for a purchase or approval to implement an action. Any part of their workflow that routes through you, you then have become the bottleneck. And just like with the linchpin, bottlenecks can develop because of your strong performance. I was talking to a member of the Women's Executive Leadership Lab recently, my membership program for senior executive women, and she mentioned that even though she's been very intentional to decentralize decision-making, her team can still defer to her to make decisions that they are very capable of making themselves. And she has to remind them not to wait for her input before moving forward. She's not micromanaging, but her team just feels safer routing decisions through her. So, okay, Becky, so her team trusts her and respects her and values her opinion and wants her input. What could possibly be problematic about that? Well, let me tell you. One, when you're involved in everyone's workflow, that definitely means that you are doing work that you don't need to be doing. That's time and energy that you're putting to other people's tasks and deliverables that you could be putting to your own. Time and energy that you could be putting to those things that only you can do. Your team can make decisions about the implementation of a project. And if they can't, DM me and let's talk, because that really is a problem. They should be able to do that. You focus on getting your team the resources and support they need for that project. You focus on eliminating any roadblocks that pop up that they can't resolve themselves, not just that they don't, but that they can't, right? You Hulk smash the problems that are at your level and let them deal with the problems that are at their level. And you, my sweet friend, you are the one who is supposed to be focusing on what's coming up next. To put all that in a nutshell, your job is to focus up, out, and down the road, and let your team focus on the team level work. Bottlenecks also are problematic because, frankly, they stunt your team's growth. Just like with the linchpin, if you become the easy button for the team, then your team doesn't need to develop their judgment, their resilience, because they rely on you to give them the answer, right? Like we've discussed previously in episodes on delegation, that might be quicker in the moment, it might be faster to just come to you and you just give them the answer, but it costs you the valuable time and energy over the long haul, and it costs them the experience of figuring it out on their own, so that they then become the ones with that resident judgment, that maturity of insight. And when you build your team to have that judgment, when it gets out of being just in your head, and when multiple team members have that ability, man, your team will be so much stronger and better and perform at such a higher level. So, what can you do if you find yourself functioning either as the linchpin or as the bottleneck? Well, let me tell you. Number one, You want to become very intentional about your messaging. You want to praise team members' initiatives, even if things don't go the way that you would have done them. In meetings and over email, you want to call out the valuable work that your team members are doing, as well as you want to highlight the impact that their work is having on strategic goals, on key initiatives. You want to make it very clear and very public that there are other people who are crushing it too. There are other people who are figuring out the solutions to problems, who are moving the ball forward, whatever metaphor happens to resonate in your organization. And you want to make it clear that it is not just you, that the talent is diffuse, and that other people can get it done too. And if somebody talks about you as being that linchpin or gosh, this would all fall apart if you weren't here, or you can never retire, or you can never leave, then you want to remind them of the valuable contributions that your teammates are making. And because you've now laid this habit, this pattern of calling that work out, it's not going to feel like it's coming out of the blue. You have kind of laid the bricks. You have built the foundation for that conversation to happen. Number 2, and I love this, I'm a huge fan. You want to codify expectations and SOPs, standard operating procedures. I love me, standard operating procedures. Why? Well, because they're systems, right? They take one-offs and they make them repeatable and out of your brain so other people can do them. And so I would say you want to start with the most critical tasks that you've got that live in your brain and get them down on paper. And it doesn't have to literally be paper. What I love to do for this is voice to text into like a Google Doc, right? And then I can add links if they're examples or PDFs or guidelines or regulatory requirement, like any of the stuff that I need to successfully complete the task. I can just dump it into that Google Doc, and then you can share the Google Doc with everyone. And if you don't use Google, if you're in Teams, well, you can do that in Teams as well, or any kind of file sharing that you use in your organization. But hey, let me ask you this. Would you like me, I've got SOP templates that I have used over the years, and it'd be pretty easy for me to just polish one up and put it out as a PDF. If you think that would be helpful, if you maybe like the idea of an SOP, but it feels really daunting, you're not entirely sure how to make it so it would actually work for you and not just be a goat rope, not just be some extra thing that you would have to do, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm at @WomenLeadWell, and let me know. I'm happy to do that if it would be supportive. My point with this, with the SOPs and the clear expectations, is to take the implicit knowledge that you have in your brain and make it repeatable, 1, and 2, make it independent of you. Share the knowledge with the group. And you always want to start with those tasks or processes that are the most time intensive for you. You might say you want to start with the most critical, like the highest priority tasks, but I'm going to say, man, I really want you to be clearing your calendar, clearing your to-do list, giving you time back so you can focus on the important work that only you can do. So I would start with, what's the biggest time suck? Get those SOPs written, get that shared with the group, and you will work through from most time intensive to least time intensive, and you're going to cover the priority tasks in there as well, right? It's not just a one and done. You kind of work through everything until it's all systematized. And I want to acknowledge, I want to honor that this can be hard. I was working with a coaching client a few months ago who did this. She was the linchpin, and because of the way their organization was structured, she was also the bottleneck. And she is a freaking genius by every definition. And so people naturally relied on her for all kinds of stuff that wasn't her work to do. And so together through coaching, we worked on her creating the SOPs and coming up with scripts so that when people would come to her to just fix it, she could very professionally and consistently put the work that was others to do back on them to do it. And it took a lot of her willpower to not just step in and save the day. She is a serious professional with a strong work ethic. She is actually literally a genius. And she knew that if she just didn't do it, that the execution would founder. And it did for a time. But the team learned how to function. They figured it out. So the first month was rough for her to hold the line. And after a few weeks, the team said, well, we actually have to figure this stuff out. And hey, you know what? It isn't actually her job to be doing it. And so they started to figure it out. She didn't have to give them the answers. They learned to fish. They started to rely on the systems they had built, not on her. And what does that mean? It means that she now has more bandwidth to wrestle with the big, challenging decisions and obstacles that exist at her level of the organization. Okay, so last thing, number 3, is that don't back down. And this is the hardest part. People you probably care about have learned to rely on you to do things, and now you're going to stop doing them. Some people really won't like it. But here's the cool part. Some people really will. You will see quickly who your go-getters are. They're the ones who are going to step up and move forward without complaint. They are the ones who will grow and quickly become more capable because they were given the space. So for every person who complains about how you always did X before, why aren't you doing it now? Just remember the members of your team who are more proficient, more capable, and more confident because you let them step into their power. You let them grow. And as always, if you'd like help shaping these dynamics with your team, let me know. I would love to offer you an hour on Zoom to work through your specific circumstances in your organization. Now, if today's episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a friend who's had too much on her plate. We need more women leading from alignment, not adrenaline. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, you can always grab one of our resources. There's the 90-day leader development plan available on our website, with free resources like the weekly reset routine and the mental load reset. Remember, joyful, sustainable, and authentic leadership is possible, and you deserve to enjoy every minute of it. Until next time, I'm Becky Hamm, and this is Joyfully Unstoppable.